Hello friends and welcome to the Treaty United recap for Building a Nation season 21 of the save. We are balls deep in the save right now, but things are really hotting up, so there's been a lot of stuff to talk about, but boy is almost all of it bloody excellent, so stay tuned for that. If you do enjoy these, of course, drop a like on the video. That would be fantastic. Lets me know you want me to keep doing them. We're of course live over on stream right now doing the transfer window with lots of money and lots of ideas with who we can potentially spend it on, so that's going to be fun. Join us over there for that. And of course, if you want to see the VODs in their full so you can catch up on all the weirdness, and it is mostly weirdness, that goes on over on stream, it's a very different environment, then of course link to that is in the description to the second channel where you can find all of that stuff as well. So without further ado, youth intake. And I mean, you're probably sick of me saying this, but this is the youth intake we had this year. This was the only viable player from it. Literally the only player that was even like signable from the youth intake was Jonathan Hammond, a 16-year-old, of course, from Northern Ireland. He's a right-sided player. He is quick. I'll say this about him. He is quick, but he has a terrible personality and, well, not much else that's really worth talking about with him, unfortunately. Like, he's fine, but he's never going to play for us. Ah, dear. It's a shame, but you know, life goes on. We have actually, in the last year, since we last spoke, managed to upgrade our youth facilities 2 more times. We finally broke that mold. So that's good, I guess, if nothing else. But other than that, sod all really to discuss on him. But what you're really here for, of course, is some transfers. So let's talk about the players in and out. But we'll start with some outs, because I think there have been some. First thing was Pablo Rodriguez. I sold him to Dundalk. They put a bid in, and they actually had more money on the bid, but I eventually shortened it to £600,000, which was basically just the add-ons. So if he does well for them, they'll pay us. If not, it doesn't matter. We felt that now was the right time for Pablo to move on. He's an American international. He's got 61 caps at the age of 24. So to move him on for this kind of money, to get him out to Dundalk, where he has played 33 matches for them this season. So we can't really say that that's a bad thing. They've done well with him. I'm happy for him. Also sold our backup goalkeeper Jason Curtis to Watford for £200,000 just because he was complaining and Watford said, we'll have him. So I did it. Guillermo Salgado actually left us to go to Braga for £1.2 million. I actually think he's a decent player. The problem with him was that he was refusing to go out on loan. He spent a lovely bit of time out on loan. I think it was at St. Pat's and at Dundalk various times, but he just never stayed more than a season, I don't think, because he just constantly complained, even when he was playing football matches. Although, yeah, he played 23 times for them. He played, but he just wouldn't go back out on loan most of the time, so eventually we had to move him on, sadly. But 1.2 million, I guess, got some money. Then there was the biggest transfer outlay of the whole window in terms of outs, because we just needed a bit of cash. We felt that now was the time for the donut to finally depart the club. He's a very good player. You can see attribute-wise he's very good. We sold him for £22.5 million to Lille. Lille just seemed to pick up our guys. Whenever we want to sell someone, Lille are like, we'll give it to you. He's been a great servant to the club. Played, 205 league matches for us and scored 72 goals in the league, which is incredibly good. Like, to have a central midfielder that's nearly at 1 in 2, very, very respectable tally. But we felt that at 30, we were never going to get any more money from him later down the line. And with players coming through the club, we decided that now might actually be the right time to move him on and keep the sort of train going. And it's nice to sort of see that he's managed to find pastures at Lille. And we got £22.5 million out of it. So that was nice. Carlos Ararat also went back to Colombia, this time to Deportivo Cali, for, I think it was £1.5 million. I liked him, but he would never get a loan, and sometimes you just have to bite the bullet on these guys and send them back, basically. Uche, who was a bit of a troublemaker for us at times, went back to the same club that we bought him from for £500,000, so we bought him for 70k and sent him back a few years later and made 5 times the money, so that's okay. I think he's a good player, honestly, and he'll probably get sold to a massive European side at some point, but we could just never seem to find him alone and never really got him a chance in our team, so we felt that now was the time just to make a bit of cash. Similar story here in Gael Gurugi, of course, the guy that I talked about going to Chelsea last summer. We sold him to Porto for £2.9 million. We do also have a 50% of next sale fee clause on top of that, which I think I might have already sold it actually for like 4 million. Needless to say, I felt it was just the right deal. We always love selling a goalkeeper to Porto. It just works for us. And the final out is Maurizio Fiorentini. You remember him, the guy that was randomly at an Italian that gendered a Swiss club, I think it was. We then brought him in on free transfer and he was loaned out to Puskás for a season. But then Arsenal said, we'll give you £3.2 million. So we did it. And we got a 50% of next sale fee clause because we, again, just didn't feel like we were going to get him a loan domestically. So we felt like now might be the time to just make some money on the initial deal and then have a huge amount of money potentially on the back end, because selling him to Arsenal gives them that value bump, so we can just keep that money coming in, because obviously we can't do it all on prize money. We do still have to keep making player sales, and it's these types of sales that are really financing our insane loan farm. And I say insane loan farm because believe me, it is insane. I'll show you in a minute. I think we're over 50 now. But now, that's all the outs pretty much. Now on to the ins. And again, it's been a season of just outrageousness. First up on a free transfer was Joaquin Mirimon. Brought him in because he was free. he's actually okay, I think. We're trying to get him out on loan, but nothing's really happening there. Then there was Juan Carlos, £1.2 million in from Valencia. He's out on loan at Skamrock Rovers this season and has done a bloody good job for them. 24 appearances in all competitions. He's worth huge amounts of money. We got him relatively cheap. I think he's probably, ignore this for the moment, we're still seeing a nice upward trajectory on him, so I like him a lot. Then there's a player I absolutely adore, Predrag Lukacic. He's 18. He's already got 6 caps for Croatia. We bought him for £3.3 million from Rijeka. He did half a season on loan at Dundalk, but didn't really like it there. So we've now brought him back because, honestly, he's going to start playing first team matches for us. He's already that good. He is going to be an absolute beast in the future. He's 6'5". He's quick. He's kind of got a bit of everything about him. And I think he's going to be an absolute worldie of a centre-back for us one day. And I've just kind of brought him back now to say, you know what, get him in the first team at this point. He's already good enough. So long-term, he is definitely a replacement for some of our centre-backs, the likes of Spack and Mate. Even though they're not that old yet, he is definitely the long-term replacement. We also brought in Jonathan Dominguez for 800k from, I think it was Atlas Guadalajara. Again, central midfielder. He's actually done all right this season, in fairness. Got 6 goals, and 4 of which have been in the league. Hasn't even played that much for us, but has done a stellar job of that. He's still on the loan list like the others, but he's been a really good rotation option, honestly. Next up was Rick Rolls. Yes, that is his real name. His name is Rick Rolls. So we signed him for that reason alone. And incredibly, he's actually gone out on loan to Longford Town, who of course have their tycoon, and more on them in a bit. But yeah, he was the first player that they actually went into loan, which is just funny. Next up, though, is Norberto Araujo. This is the guy, potentially. He is our record signing. And honestly, I felt we might have overpaid a bit. But the man, when I brought him in to just do a few matches just to sort of see what he was capable of doing, he just exploded onto the scene. He cost us £19.5 million, which is, again, a lot. It was more than double our record transfer from Vitória de Guimarães. But since he's joined this club, it has just been, particularly once we got him some more game time, he's just been getting better and better and better, so unbelievably fast. Earned him 4 caps for Portugal as well, already scored 2 goals for them. I think long term, he could be one of those world-beating players that just comes out of nowhere. The guy's got 20 goals in 15 starts this season, including 11 in the league in only 8 starts. He scored goals for us in cups. He's got 8 in 5 in the FAI Cup. He has got some real talent, and I think could be giving, like Vinicius obviously is fantastic and he's still our starting striker, but the likes of Araujo and Valev are going to give him a serious run for his money in the next couple of seasons. They're developing faster than I could have ever dreamed of, and I'm so happy for him. We then brought in Steven Evers on a free transfer from Den Haag. We just love pillaging Den Haag for free transfers. He's gone out on loan to St. Pat's. You'd love to see it. Then there is another player that I'm very pleased with. This is Gilberto Neslo. He came in from Go Ahead Eagles for £2.9 million. Again, tall boy, not as quick as our other player there, but I've kept him at the club. We were trying to get him loaned down. He still technically is, but the fact is, I think he is another one. I think long-term, Lukacic and Neslo is going to be our backline partnership between the two of them, the Croat and the Dutchman, because they are both fantastic young prospects who just seem to be getting better and better and having really solid seasons for us. So I think they're going to be long-term, absolute stonking players, and I'm really excited to see what they can accomplish over the next few seasons. He's still only 17, and I think he's only going to continue to improve, so I'm super happy. Great personality, consistency, and for £2.9 million. Then there's Runar Stincher, who come in from Rosenborg for, I think it was £1.2 million. Again, a solid option for us in the midfield. We've been calling him Stinkier because why wouldn't we at that point? But again, really decent player. Brought him in, hopefully get him some loans. That's the plan. Then there's Vinicius Rodolfo, who is a weird one. I basically brought him in to be our long-term replacement, potentially to Albin Sandberg. We paid quite a lot of money in the end. I think it's 8.5 rising to 12, which is a lot because he was a more established player, and he's just not quite had it this year, unfortunately. A part of that's me not playing him as much, but I don't really think he's quite what we needed. So bit of a dud of a transfer. Could still sell him on for huge money, potentially. And I still think he's a decent player, but just maybe not quite what we were looking for. Same kind of applies to Philip Pino, who, yes, is, yeah. We've signed him mostly because of his name. Let's be honest. It's not his actual name. His name is actually Mario Pino. We just thought it was funny that he was Filipino and he had Pino at the end of his name. But needless to say, he's a decent player. We picked him up on, I think it was a £700,000 from Manchester City. We are trying to get him sold at the moment because the wages are just too high. There's also Mahir Amerdic, an outrageous centre-back. Or he was a natural libero, actually, when we found him. That was his top role. He's just a really good potential player here from Bosnia. Brought him in from Dinamo Zagreb for, I think it was like £6 million. So it's a fair old transfer for him. Been on loan at Sligo Rovers this year. Played 40 matches for them. So that's really, really nice to see. And again, a nice upward trajectory, even though it is unknown for some reason. Francisco Morega, a Norwegian central midfielder, who we bought for £2.2 million from Viking. And he's gone straight out on loan to Shamrock Rovers this year and has been actually very good for them. He's just a really, really good player. It was nice to get him a loan as quickly as we did. Normally, they don't get the loans that quickly, but he was just straight in there, and he's an exciting player. They should have faces for the next time you see them. We need to run the Z-Gens over them again. But he's just got barely any weaknesses. Like, they're all solid as... There's nothing below a 5. Sorry, nothing below a 6 on his entire character sheet, which is kind of mad. Character sheet? What am I playing here? Then there was Johan Hulvoet. Again, just a ridiculous signing. Free transfer from Genk. Paid nothing for this guy. I think we actually ended up, or did we pay a little bit? Tell a lie, there was compensation of 600 grand, but I mean, let's be honest, I think we're okay with that. He's just a little bit special, isn't he? Just a little bit excellent. So happy to bring him on a free transfer. He's been on at Derry City this season. Then it was a very similar story with Daniel Bilbia from PSV, who again was released basically. We got him on compensation for 800k. He's not the quickest of strikers. We're hoping to improve that side of his game. But again, for the price, it's just astonishing, some of the prices of these guys. He is now on the dev list. He isn't here, but that's because I have added him, don't worry. This is obviously a slightly older version of the save, so that way we can get the stats for once. Then there was Enrique San Martin, who, the main reason I brought him in is because I felt that he could really do a decent job as a winger on the left-hand side because of this, and you can see the reasons behind that. £3.9 million from Racing Club, so definitely starting to be able to get a little bit more quality in these sorts of positions. I think, if anything, he'll be more likely to be a long-term successor than Rodolfo will, but we've had some issues with him. He's been a bit of a bell piece because of reasons, you know, the usual sort of stuff. So I still think he's a really solid player. Happy to have him here, but he does argue with officials. Then there's this lad here, Fidel Martinez, and now he is an actual free transfer, not compensation, nothing, dead on free from Atletico. I don't know why they were letting him go for free, but they were, and we went, yeah, I think we'll have him. So he's come in. He's not played much for us this season, but needless to say, he's still very young. He's still worth huge amounts of money, and if nothing else, there might be an opportunity to just flip him for godly amounts of money to a massive European side and just make money on the back end. And the last signing up to this point is Simeon Bogdanov, a right-wing player from Bulgaria, from Beros Stara, £1.9 million. Just a solid option for us, really. The huge value on this guy, again, he's already got caps for Bulgaria. We've got some really talented Bulgarians around this squad at the moment. They're generating, there's going to be a really strong Bulgarian national team in about 5-6 years, I'd say, because we've got 3 or 4 of the guys that I know for a fact are going to be quality players. When I say no for a fact, based on what I can see, they're going to be outrageous players. The Bulgarian national team is going places, I'd say. But yes, that concludes another massive chunk of business. We're just signing at this point, and it's working out terrifically for us. As for the loan list, there's 54 players currently out on loan from us at the moment, most of whom are actually playing very well. There's a few sort of stragglers in there too, but for the most part, everybody's putting up some good numbers. Top goal scorer amongst them is Haijun Wan, with 26 goals in 53 appearances this season for Skamrock Rovers. He's been outrageous. Hanush has got 24 for Sligo. We've got, Shalvik has got 22 for Shelbourne. Unfortunately, he doesn't go back to them because he's an idiot, but there you go. Fidel Fay's got 22. Even Alonso's not got that many this year, but still had a great season. Assists-wise, Vukotic has got 14 assists. Randy Hobbs, the oven molester, went out and got 18 goals and 10 assists for Sligo Rovers this season. What a guy. Started getting US caps. It's just everything we wanted to see out of these guys. It's been absolutely fantastic. Really happy with all of the loan farm players. And the fact that they're all going to like Irish side. You can see the number of players these guys have got. Bows only have 2, and it's making them suffer. Derry have got some really quality young talent. Dundalk, look at this. Just stacking it with talent. Skamrock Rovers have got loads this season. Shelbourne have got a few. Sligo have got an absolute buttload, and it's made a huge difference in them qualifying for Europe last season and being a real force this year as well. So it's been fantastic to see the way the loan farm's progressing, and it's only going to get bigger and better. It's just amazing. Love it. So that's the ins and outs. Let's quickly talk about the league. Very quickly, because we won it again, obviously, but slight problem. Again, we failed to win a single match. The last 2 seasons, we've won 35 out of 36. This year, it was Skamrock Rovers that beat us 1-0. It happens. Skamrock, though, did in the end qualify second. They beat Dundalk to the Champions League places on goal difference in the end. Dundalk just lost too heavily when they placed against us. That's pretty much what did it for him. But you can see again the gaps are still pretty immense. Bohemian slipped all the way down to 5th now. They simply don't have enough players on loan from us and refuse to take them, and it's really starting to cost them. They're still going to comfortably qualify for Europe every year for the moment, but they're certainly falling away. As you can see that Sligo Rovers have definitely poked things up a little bit, but Skamrock have come out of nowhere. They get Champions League next year, and honestly they thoroughly deserve it. They've been fantastic. You can see 24 goals for Vinicius this year, 19 for Thais Fries, and he won the Ballon d'Or. Thais Fries won the Ballon d'Or. He won about every single possible competition for individual players that is possible. He won like 3 different individual awards this season for his performances. So what a man he's been. Choi Tae-hoon with 11 assists. Sao with 11 assists. You can see Valev was up there too. Mihov with 21 clean sheets. We had a goal difference of plus 161. That's something as well. I wonder if we could get a 200 goal season because we're scoring a lot more goals now. Something's really clicked for us. As for the second tier, Longford Town, with their Tycoon, did get promoted as champions. This is a big moment for them. Now that they've got themselves up, we need to see what they're going to do in the transfer market to try and stay there. They've got money. They're already I think it's the 6th highest wage spenders in the top flight. even when they're in the second tier. So that should give you an idea there. Hopefully they can splash that cash, get some loans from us, and just bring in enough players to keep themselves up next year, and then start to really build on that. Because I think once we, hopefully soon, within the next 3 or 4 seasons, get that sixth European spot, I think Longford are the perfect team to occupy that spot, and we'll be able to splash mad cash in Europe if they start to get that kind of success. So that's what we're hoping for. So them getting promoted this year, despite not having any loans from us, is extremely positive signs. Now, of course, we won all the cups, as you would have expected, so no real big surprises there. So let's start to take a little bit of a look at Europe, because that's where things go a bit weird. So with the Champions League, we had Juventus, a 1-1 draw at home. I'm not entirely sure how we only managed to get 0.54 XG out of 10 shots on target from 11 shots. I don't really know how that works, but I guess they were just really bad shots. But it was a 1-1 draw with Mate and Bichiabu getting the equaliser for Juve. Luckily, in the second leg, it was an absolute masterclass from Luba Mihov, basically keeping out Juve single-handedly, while Vinicius and Panelek Mate were able to give us the goals to send us through to the second round of the Champions League and into the quarterfinals, which was a nice bit of progression. I felt good, and we then drew Inter, and I thought, you know what? Yes, we can take that. And our dominance was fully on display in the first leg. Alaku and Choi Tae-hoon giving us a 2-0 advantage. We needed that second goal, but I mean, I think we could have done more in this game. We really could have had even more goals, and well, we probably should have done. Now to the second leg. This is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Yeah, we went out by losing 8-5 on the night. One of the more absurd matches I've ever seen in FM. I don't know how we shipped 8 goals in this game. I don't know how we scored 5 goals in this game. And the worst thing about this all is that we scored a goal in the 85th minute here with Solis. And that goal made it 6-5 on aggregate to us. We then proceeded to concede 3 goals after that point in the 86th, 88th and 94th minutes to somehow find ourselves in this position. And then Garnice still scored one in the 95th minute to make it an 8-7 defeat on aggregate. One of the most gut-wrenching fixtures. And I was just like, how on earth over these 2 matches have we come out losing 8-7? But that's just FM sometimes, I guess. So that did dump us out of the Champions League, and I felt aggrieved because I feel like we were comfortably good enough to be a semi-finalist this year. But there's definite progress you can see. This was just one of those games when everything just goes out the window, sadly. But now on to the other Irish sides in Europe last season. Bows, of course, as you can see here, put Stuttgart to the sword in the first knockout round of the Europa League. Europa Conference League to get themselves through 2-0 on aggregate. In the second round, though, sadly, they were beaten 2-2 on aggregate by Besiktas, which is a real shame. I actually think they did pretty well. They won the home game 2-0 and lost the away game 2-0 and went out on penalties. That said, Skammet Rovers, with a 1-1 and a 0-0, won on penalties against Zenit to reach the quarterfinals of the Europa Conference League, with Haejun Wan leading the way. Then into the quarterfinals, they made light work of Feyenoord, a 5-1 twatting of them on aggregate, with Haejun Wan scored 16 goals in the Conference League for Skammet Rovers this season. What a year he had for them. And they reached the semi-finals, where amazingly they dispatched Real Sociedad 2-1 on aggregate with a 2-0 victory at the Tala Stadium to put themselves in their first ever major European final, the first Irish side other than us to reach one, where they'd face off against Besiktas in the final. Utterly mental. The finals are going to be played at Lyon. Just insane. And of course, you all saw the stream. We watched the final live. Skamrock Rovers beat Besiktas 2-0, and it was a very comfortable performance, particularly in the second half of that game. Skamrock beat them 2-0 and won the Europa Conference League, which of course meant they got guaranteed qualification for the Europa League group stages the following season, which made us just so much better for us. It was amazing. And of course, having the first Irish side to win a European tournament, that certainly helps. We'll talk more about coefficients in a minute once we talked about what's happened in the group stages. So of course, we went straight into the group stages this season, and for once, we actually got ourselves a decent group with Athletic Club, Rangers, and Galatasaray. That was the group. And this was the result in the end. Honestly, not as emphatic as you would have expected from us, from that kind of group. We still won the group and qualified as group winners, which is the main thing. Beat Galatasaray fairly comfortably 2-0. Got a 2-1 victory at Ibrox against Rangers as well, and started off brilliantly. 4-1 victory, and then away from home at Athletic Club too, just cruising through at that point. Then it went a bit off the rails. Well, actually, sorry, it didn't go off the rails at that point. We beat Athletic Club 5-0 there with a hat-trick from Mate and 2 from Vinicius. It was after that when it went a bit wrong. Unfortunately, we got massively FM'd away at Galatasaray with a 1-1 draw there, which was very much undeserved. And then, unfortunately, we've beaten 2-0 at home by Rangers, which was very, very disappointing. And again, I think we deserved to win all 6 matches in this group, but in the end, I think tiredness just caught up. I don't know what it was. We'd already qualified as group winners by that point, so I guess they didn't really care that much. But there you go. We did win our Champions League group. And do you know what we got for winning our Champions League group? Who did we get as our reward? Manchester City. We got Manchester City. That was our reward for winning our Champions League group. Every time we win our damn group, which isn't very often, we always get worse draws, it feels like. But hey, life goes on. That's our task, to try to get past Manchester City and see what happens after that. Now, other Irish sides. Dundalk were sadly made very light work of by Benfica in the third qualifying round. They haven't really quite been as competitive in the Champions League as they have the last couple of seasons, so they were straight into the Europa League group stages after that. And of course, Skamrock were already in the Europa League group stages. Bows went straight into the playoff round and unfortunately were knocked out 2-1 by PSV, so they dropped automatically into the Conference League. But you can see where this is going. That's already 4 teams guaranteed in the group stages. It was up to Sligo to see if they can make it 5. And they started off doing that pretty damn well by beating Hajduk Split 5-1 on aggregate there. Just brilliant work from them. Absolutely spectacular. And also what helped with that is the fact that because Skamrock got a bye into the group stages of the Europa League, Sligo Rovers, instead of occupying the team that would have been in the second qualifying round here, got themselves a bye because they became the other Irish side there into the third round. So they basically got a pretty easy path straight into the playoff round, and that's where they went. And once again, made very light work of it with a 4-1 beating of Midtjylland to reach the group stages of the Conference League, which meant for the first time in this save, every qualified side for Europe was in some kind of group stage competition. That meant huge money. It meant so many opportunities for us to gain coefficient points, especially if we'd lost a few opportunities with us and Skamrock both going guaranteed group stages. That meant that qualifying games, then we didn't get to play them, and thus we lost out on some points. So in a way it kind of balanced out, but it's just so much better for the teams. And in those Europa League groups, things got even better. Skamrock Rovers qualified out of their group. They came second in a group with Roma, Fenerbahce and Hanover. They got some outrageously good results in this group and were able to win it. I think they beat Fenerbahce on the final day, and that was enough to see them sneak over the line and grab second spot and qualify for the knockouts of the Europa, albeit the first knockout round, but still, very good work. Dundalk, on the other hand, weren't quite so lucky. They did eventually manage to stumble into third spot in that group, which meant they did qualify for some football after Christmas. And to be fair, 7 points and third spot is actually not a bad run from them. They had a pretty tough group. It was the home and away defeats to Antwerp that really cost them, but they do go into the knockouts of the Conference League. So that's still, with us going through and those two, all 3 of those sides into the knockouts of something. And now to the Conference League. Well, first things first, Bows walked through their group. They got 15 points. 5 wins out of 6 in their group was astonishing, particularly as they lost their first game 3-2 away to Čukarički. Mental. And then they just went and won everything after that, home and away against Beitar Jerusalem and Wolfsburg. Qualifier, group winners, skip around, everything beautiful. And it was actually almost an identical story down at the bottom. Sligo Rovers beat Sporting of Portugal, and as a result they were able to steal the group winning spot on the final day by doing so. Incredible. 5 wins out of 6 for them as well. The only game they lost, I think, was they got beaten 4-0 by Sporting, but they managed to do them in the second one, and as a result, with the Sporting losing elsewhere, they won their group as well. So we've got all 5 sides into the knockouts of European competition. Us in the Champions League, we've got Skamrock Rovers, of course, in the Europa League, and the other 3 all in the Conference League. 2 of them won't even be in it yet. And in that Europa League, Shamrock Rovers will play against Dundee United. So they've got a really good chance, I think, of progressing through perhaps even another round of that tournament, which is amazing news. And as for the Conference League, Dundalk get Dinamo Moscow. I think that's an eminently winnable tie for our compatriots here. And I think we could very well see 3 Irish sides in the second knockout round of the Conference League. I wouldn't be too surprised if next season I'm sat here saying that another Irish side has won the Conference League, because we're going to have 3 teams in the last 16 at this rate, and that is utterly mental. So really exciting about that. Now let's check the coefficients. So as you can see, it's been a very successful season for us. We're up to 7th in the league overall. Now, of course, we're losing the season we won the Europa League, which was that 11-point year. But the fact is, before we've even got to the knockout starting, we're already on 10.9 points, and all 5 Irish sides are still in Europe. It's going to take a lot for us to get up to the 14.8 of last year, but I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to it being doable. I think we're really in a great spell right now. And despite Portugal having a very good year, they've not managed to close that gap on us, and it looks like we will still stay ahead of Portugal. And with Scotland struggling a little bit this season, over the next couple of years, I think the likes of Scotland, Germany and France are going to start to come back to us in massive style. And hopefully, that is what's going to allow us to hopefully just sneak straight into that top 4 within the space of a couple of seasons. We're really on a roll at the moment, and I'm keen to make the most of it. So looking at the statistics overall, you can see that Vinicius obviously still top scorer. Hasn't played as many matches this season, as you can see. He had some serious injuries that cost him a lot of game time, but still 33 goals on the board. It's nothing like the 50-something of last year, but still a fantastic season for him. Thighs Freeze, 28 goals and 18 assists. What a year in all competitions. Ado Ujo, we already talked about him, but you'll notice here, Stefan Valev, 17 appearances, or 17 starts, 16 goals for him as well. He is still developing at an alarming rate, up to 12 finishing now. He came in when he was, I think, 17 or 16 years old, and it was 8, and it's already up to 12. He is going to be a star. He's got 8 caps for Bulgaria now. You can see what I mean about when I think that the Bulgarian national team is going to take an absolute flying leap in the next few years, and I think he's going to be part of that reason. So much quality there. Alaku with another 16, one of his best seasons ever for the club, of course. Manea still with 15 goals there too. We've been trying all sorts out here. Mate with 14, Choite Hoom with 13 goals, 15 assists as well. That's really saying something, that he's got that many contributions this year. John Joe Diaz, yes, that's right. He's got Irish caps now. It's insane. So that's Juanjo Diaz, gets his Irish caps. It's just things you love to see. This team is just developing beautifully. Sandberg with 19 assists as well. Sal with 15 assists from right wing back. Jovetic with 14 assists in 19 starts. Falconos only started 8 matches and still managed to bag 12 assists. This team is stacked to high heavens at the moment, but it's when you look at the potential that's coming through here with the guys that are actually at the club in our first team, with Neslo, Biblia, Lukacic, Valev, Bogdanov, Obradovic, who's hopefully going to get a loan. I think he does get one, actually. Martinez, Radojic, Niakshu, of course. Still probably one of the best footballers. I think he's going to be potentially one of the best footballers in the world. 17 caps at the age of 21. He's had some injuries this season that's cost him, but look at that value. £53 million. I think I turned down a bid for Manea of 70 million at this point. So we're really starting to build this squad up into something spectacular. As for who's mostly been playing this season, it's still been a case of mostly Vinicius and Solis and Alaku and Limburg and Fries. It's still been a fantastic side, and I think long may it reign. Now, of course, Mihov is 35 years old now, our goalkeeper, so we are still looking at his replacement, but we think we've found him in Mikolic, the guy that we've got out on loan at Skamrock Rovers. He's been brilliant, and I think he's going to be our long-term replacement for Luban Mihov, but he does still have 2 years left on his deal. I expect him to see that out until he's 37. He's still been putting in banging performances this season, particularly against Juventus in the Champions League last season. He's still an absolute hero for us, so long may it continue for him. We might even have some testimonials set up for this squad. So, let me just show you the financial situation. Still £100 million in the bank. It's what we're kind of chilling on at the moment, and that is absolutely fine. Club info, still rich, still doing all of our stuff, really. Still obviously in the same stadium at the moment. Now, transfer-wise, at the moment, £68 million in the bank, in terms of transfer budget anyway, and then of course the wage budget on top of that. We're in a good position right now, which is lovely. And wow, there's actually a few more. Oh yeah, we've got a few like other sort of signings happening in and around, but I'll show you those next time around. But yes, if you want to join us to see us pick up hopefully some more absolute bargains, then join us over on stream right now. It's gonna be nice to see you all again. I've been off all weekend. I've missed you lot. Anyway, yeah, if you have enjoyed this, and I hope you have, drop a like. That'd be gorgeous. If you're new to the streams, come and check them out. They're really, really fun. It's a different vibe to the Nomads videos. It's a lot more silly. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Hold your gun. Capybara. Bye-bye.